They reinforced this cutting the hair for women. My mother cut my hair only with a scissor. I felt so sorry for him. My child raised in a Satmar house, how is he going to survive in this world that he wants to be in? I told everybody my son is OTD. I didn't hide it. There was no shame in it. I still have this joyfulness about, I'm in love with Yiddishkeit. If anybody would have this attitude, they wouldn't leave. Wild horses couldn't drag me out of this. No matter what temptation, you know what I mean?
Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Pearl, a Satmar Hasidic woman who spoke to me on a lovely Hanukkah day from her Williamsburg, Brooklyn home. In part 1, we talked about the marriage customs in this community, and in part 2, we'll talk about the custom of shaving the head, about those who leave the faith, keeping the faith, and more. Before we jump in, I just want to set us up a little bit by explaining where Pearl comes from, because some of the things we'll talk about today apply specifically to her subsect of Orthodox Judaism. Within Orthodox Judaism or Hasidic Judaism, there are many sects, stripes, and types. It is not a monolith, and the Satmar Hasidic community or the Williamsburg Hasidic communities have often been of the most misunderstood and closed off to the world. Most of the voices we hear about this community come from the outside or those who have left, and this makes Pearl a very unique, very special opportunity to see and hear from someone who is at the very heart of hearts. She doesn't give you the answers that you might expect or want to hear, but rather how it is at the very heart of this community. The custom that married women shave their heads, which was brought to the world's attention with a Netflix show Unorthodox, where it was dramatized in a scene where a young woman's head is shorn, is an example of a custom that isn't practiced by all Hasidic groups, but among Satmar Hasidim, it is generally the accepted practice. I do want to frame this conversation by saying that when a woman in, say, Hasidic Williamsburg gets married, her head will be covered at all times, and her head covering will become extremely important for her as a vehicle to signify status, beauty in the community. Different head coverings signify different things, some of them being considered more modest, more pious, while others are considered perhaps more fancy and more modern. And so, because the head covering is so very important and worn at all times, whether a woman does or doesn't have hair under her head covering might not be the central concern. And so, I really wanted to talk to Pearl about it, and I asked her to watch the clip from the Netflix show. After she saw it, we talked, but generally the focus of our conversation wasn't so much on why the custom was practiced, but rather on the experience of the practice itself. Pearl, I want to ask you about women's clothing and modesty, because this is, especially I want to talk about head covering, because this is something that I think is hard to understand. Let's step back. Before we talk about the show Unorthodox and how they portrayed this scene, let's put on the record that Hasidic women in this community, this is not Chabad, for instance, but in this community, when they get married, their head is shaved, and they keep their head shaved, and they cover their heads, a turban at home, right?
Yes.
And in the street, you put on a head covering.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. My head covering is a wig.
Yeah.
Okay.
My head covering was a scarf.
Right, a tichel, yeah?
Yeah. In Unorthodox, there is a scene where Esti, the main character, after she gets married, her head is shaved and she has beautiful hair and then she's bald and she's crying. You're laughing. This is one of the most shocking scenes that I hear from people about all the time. What was your reaction?
Well, personally speaking, cutting my hair the day after my wedding was the greatest good thing that ever happened to me. Because if I wouldn't have had my hair cut, I would have yanked it out by the roots.
Really?
My hair was so bad. But anyways, I want to go back to that unorthodox business. Okay? So first of all, the day after the wedding, the mother cuts the daughter's hair without an audience. You saw that audience?
Yeah, the little girls.
Girls standing around. And the Kala, the bride, has this horrified look on her face, and she's building herself up in this hysteria That never happens by us. We know this is going to happen. It's not a new thing.
How does the scene different from how in unorthodox
Every
different from
child
how
that
it's in reality?
that grows up in our home sees their mother without hair. None of the mothers have hair. None of the aunts have hairs. None of the... You see this from when you're able to see. So we grow up with the knowledge that married women cut their hair and wear a sheitel, wear a tichel, a turban, whatever you want. Okay?
And when it's your turn, what happens?
It's a matter-of-fact thing.
Your mother comes and she does it
Your mother comes, and your husband is usually in Shiel,
in the synagogue.
right? And my mother cut my hair only with a scissor. Okay? She says, I want to get you used to it. Gradually, I'm cutting all your hair off, but with a scissor, and I was expecting this to happen. No surprise here.
What were you thinking while it happened?
Can't wait for this to happen because I want to get rid of my hair. Any sheitel is going to be an improvement over
What
my
was
hair.
with your hair?
Very bad hair. Very bad hair.
Frizzy?
You know, in those days, what everybody was wearing beehives?
Yeah.
Yeah, my hair fainted.
I
It was
see.
black. Even for the wedding, I couldn't get it to look nice.
You couldn't tease it. Listen, I
I mean, look at me now. Do you think I want to go around with 75-year-old hair that's already my head is half bald, let's say? Isn't this better?
this is very beautiful.
Isn't this better? Okay, so a sheitel is fantastic. Now, some women are more, like you were, more, how do I say, more frim, more...
religious? They're
More-
more pious.
Yes. So they wear only a kerchief for a head covering. But this is certainly not painful. This is certainly not a sacrifice.
You're saying when you're wearing just a kerchief and you don't have fake hair to adorn your face, then it's more
You have to have
of
a beautiful
sacrifice.
face.
You have to have a beautiful face for
You
a
have to have a
kerchief.
beautiful face. You have to have a beautiful face anyways, but for the kerchief, it really
Yeah.
matters.
I want to still discuss the experience.
It was a non-experience.
It was a non-experience. With your
non-experience.
daughters also?
Yeah.
Did they not have beautiful hair? None of them?
Some of them had beautiful hair, yeah, but so what?
What is
We don't make a
happening?
big deal out of it.
Yeah, it's not a big
It's
moment.
not a big moment. It's not a big deal. Every once in a while, somebody will get a piece of jewelry, like compensation, you know.
A gift.
Yeah,
For-
a gift
for the
right?
moment.
But everybody expects this. This is what we do.
So why? Why is it done?
400 years ago, this cutting the hair. There was a big meeting of all the sages and tzaddikim. I don't know exactly the details. I'm sorry. I'm such a ignoramus in some ways.
No, this is I think a topic that is largely muddled in its history.
It's nothing muddled.
Nothing muddled.
No, it's not muddled. It's unmuddled.
You're muddled. You're very clear. Go on.
And they reinforced this cutting the hair for women. This was reinforced. Now, I think that this meeting of the tzaddikim took place in the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Uh-huh.
So you find by the Polish and the Russian and the Litvish, they don't cut their hair. Of course, they cover their hair because that's a Shulchan Aruch. That's
A law.
That's
Why?
a law.
Why covering the hair?
a married woman, a divorced woman, and a widowed woman must cover her hair. She must advertise her status.
Through a head
She's
cover.
not a girl.
This is what it leads to the question of, but her hair, her wig will often look just like her hair.
Well, it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. Well, your wig doesn't look like a gray.
So
Band.
therefore I'm wearing a band. See this band?
Uh-huh.
This is sort of signifies that I'm married. It tells the world.
I see.
It tells our society.
That this is not.
This is a covering on top of a covering. My sheitel is a covering. Now you know that. So this is important in Judaism that this is like advertised. Married, widowed, divorced. Not single. The status is advertised.
Is this so? This is, you would say it's a Shulchan Aruch. I don't want to go.
It's a Shulchan Aruch thing, yeah. That a married, widowed, or divorced woman has to cover her hair. Even if she keeps her hair,
Even if she
Okay?
doesn't shave it,
Even if
she's
she doesn't
still...
shave it, it must be covered.
And shouldn't a woman be beautiful for her husband? This sounds very Chabad. I can't even
She,
bring myself to ask this question.
why? Why does it sound Chabad?
This whole woman needs to be beautiful for her husband.
This is not Chabad. This is Hasidus. This is Judaism. Of course, a woman has to be beautiful for her husband. Only for her husband.
So, shouldn't she have hair?
She should, but because our boys are raised seeing their mothers and knowing that a married woman cuts her hair, so then there's beauty besides that. You know, there's other beauty. It's not, the hair is not the only beauty in a woman.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, my experience when my head was shaved was like you. I was never emotionally attached to my hair. It took me a long time to start to feel like I didn't want to shave my head.
And this is the way we're raised, and this is the way we expect life to be, boys and girls.
So what was your reaction? You're watching Unorthodox, her head is shaved. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking to myself, I never ever saw such a scene of crying. What's the big deal? You know that this is going to come. I mean, you know that your mother, your grandmother, your friends, your sisters, everybody cuts their hair. What's the big deal? And nobody does it with an audience.
What do you think the audience does to the scene?
It first of all, it looks horrible.
It looks horrible.
It looks horrible. Everybody's standing around and watching this person like being geschochten. You know, she's being slaughtered over here, and you have kids standing around and watching this. It's like so inappropriate.
Why do you think they did
Why
it
did they
this
put
way?
it in? I mean, whoever was doing this knows that it never happens. But to have but maybe they wanted to magnify the disaster.
Yeah. They were trying to create. This is how outsiders see the shaving scene.
Well, if this is what they're watching, of course this is what they see.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to invite them. Come to. I'll invite you when I cut my daughter's hair. I'll invite. Nobody
we'll
does
all
that.
cry.
Yeah.
We'll cry more and more. Yeah, it's hard to understand the shaving thing for outside. I understand it intuitively.
Our next discussion touched a much deeper nerve for Pearl, and in some ways for myself, as Pearl relayed her experience when one day she learned that her then 19-year-old son Yoli was starting to leave the community. Here we use the term OTD to describe those who leave. It is a commonly used refrain that stands for off the derech, or in English, off the faith path. We've heard so many stories of those who have left and their pain and their journey, and I think this is a very, very different side of the coin of the parent who's experiencing a child who leaves, and Pearl was very forthcoming in telling about her experience, and her son Yoli as well saw the video and agreed to its publication.
Can we talk about leaving the faith? Because we often, speaking of unorthodox, we hear so many stories about people who leave the faith, who are, telling their story from the outside, and we don't hear the story from people on the inside. And you have, can I say someone?
Sure.
Your son?
My son, my youngest son, my Yoeli,
He left.
my baby.
How old
when
was
he was
he?
19 years old.
When he was 19 years old, he left?
He didn't tell me anything. But one morning I wake up and I find out that he belongs to a heavy metal band and he's the drummer.
You didn't know at all?
I knew nothing.
You didn't know he was drumming?
I knew nothing. And he's dressed like heavy metal guys.
Which means what? Eyeliner?
No, he wasn't gothic. He was just dressed like they're dressed. Not Hasidish. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Not Hasidish.
Did he shave his pious?
No. He's still doing both.
I see.
He's going out with heavy metal guys, putting on probably a cap or something to hide his pious. And if I tell you that I was shocked is not the word. It was beyond shocked and devastated beyond words. Yoeli and I had such a wonderful relationship. We were so intertwined. We were so close. I'm talking about as a child. I'm not talking about him at this age. We did see that when he was about 15, 16 years old, he started to withdraw, and he stayed a lot in his own room, and he didn't, let's say Shabbos by the table, he didn't talk to us. He looked unhappy, very unhappy. So we tried to get help for him. We tried to send him for therapy.
But there was no sign that there was a religious element to this.
Never. And he resisted the therapy, but we pressured him so much, he went for therapy. And I was at that stage in my life where my daughters were getting married and having babies and having nausea and having all kind of issues. When you have married daughters, you are very, very, very busy with them. You know, I told you, we all stayed together. And Yoeli sort of fell through the cracks because he didn't make noise. He didn't say anything. He didn't act out. He was withdrawn. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like it, and I was worried about it. And so I tried, but because he wasn't a squeaky wheel, let's put it this way. My daughters were very squeaky wheels. So when he was 19 and he changed into this clothing, this hit us like a thunderbolt.
You just woke up one day and he changed clothing?
No, he went into the boiler room and he went outside to the guys. He changed his clothing. He went downstairs into the boiler room with his Hasidic clothing, changed in the boiler room, and went outside on the street to these guys.
And you noticed?
My daughter tells me, Mommy, look out the window.
Your daughter lives nearby?
Yeah. Mommy, look out the window. I just was like, you know, when you don't know how to react. You don't know what this is. When he came home, I asked him, Yoeli, what, you know.
Did he come home changed?
Changed in the boiler room. Came upstairs. And I said, and I mean, my husband and I were so devastated. We simply didn't know how to eat this. How do you deal with it? I didn't know anybody whose child went OTD at that time. I didn't consider him OTD yet. I considered that something happened to him, that he's doing these funny things, you know. So he told me he joined a heavy metal band and he listens to heavy metal music, and he didn't talk about religion. But
were you confrontational towards him?
Never. But he did, you know, with time, I realized that this kid is completely not religious anymore. Even though he was living at home, participating in Shabbos, participating in Yom Tov, and never had arguments at home, never, but my husband and I went to pieces. Mm-hmm. So my husband cried a lot. And he said the entire Sefer Tehillim every day. It's a 2-hour business.
Wow.
It goes to Gans Tehillim every single day. He still does to this day.
Every day he says all of Tehillim? Is it still for Yoeli?
It's for Yoeli and for a lot of other people. Uh-huh. I ran to Hashem. Meaning that I gave tzedakah, charity. I prayed a lot, very much, all kind of different prayers for the success of my child as a Jew, you know. And I ran around to every professional person, and I have a list of them, over 70 people who are in the field of psychology and in the field of religion. What do we do?
What worried you the most?
I felt so sorry for him.
That what?
I felt so terribly, terribly sorry for him. My child raised in a Satmar house, how is he going to survive in this world that he wants to be in? He has no tools. He has no... He's just not going to make it. I was so afraid for him. I sat up every night. He used to come home 2 a.m. I sat by the window And in those days, he was using the train. Every time a train arrived in the station over here, we live very close to the train station, I kept looking out and saying, is Yoeli coming? Is Yoeli coming? 2 o'clock, 2:30. I served him supper when he came home.
You didn't say anything? You didn't say, where were you?
No. No.
So he comes home and you,
And I tell him, Yoeli, I have supper for you. And I would talk to him, you know.
like you'd ask him how the performance went?
I sometimes would ask him, where were you? Where did you perform? CBGB.
What does that mean?
It's a famous place.
Oh,
But
really?
he got to perform in CBGB. He made it.
Oh, really? What did you think?
Lo Yalaini, Hashem Yerachem, save me, Hashem, save my child, save my child, save my child. That was my refrain, save my child.
What were you afraid was going to happen? Drugs?
I didn't know, anything. And he's going into a world that he has no knowledge of. And it's a world that doesn't have our values. And drugs are rampant, right? And alcohol is rampant. And just the kind of life that he was trying to live was so against the way he was raised. And he's never going to make it. I'm so afraid for him. I'm still afraid for him.
But so what happened?
Listen, I want to tell you, Frida, I thank Hashem that he's a mensch.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very nice person.
Yeah.
Very decent person. I thank Hashem that he's married to his wife, Hannah,
A
who
lovely
is a
woman.
doll and whom I love to pieces. And I'm thankful to Hashem that he has 3 little girls. And I'm thankful to Hashem that he's going for his PhD in psychology. But all of this could have been done as a Yid.
So
All of this could have been done as a Jew. I'm not talking about Satmar now.
you just want him to observe Shabbos.
I
And
want him to connect to Hashem.
Pearl asked me here to clarify that she wants her son to want to connect to Hashem. Not that she wants him to connect to Hashem, but she wants him to want to.
I want him to be connected to Hashem, not to deny Hashem.
but see, he's safe he has a place in the world. He has a lovely family. He has a career. It seems to me that he has
You think he has it made?
it made. Yeah. If I was
So I'm thankful for what he has. I'm very, very thankful to Hashem for what he has. But what he doesn't have is what I pray for. Do you know that after I found out what was going on with him, for 3 years I fasted every Monday and Thursday, and I beseeched Hashem to help him
did you
until I landed in the hospital.
really?
Yeah. So I stopped. That's when I stopped.
Malnutrition?
No,
You're laughing.
not malnutrition.
Why did you land in the
I landed in the hospital. I had something. And I'm still beseeching Hashem for both of them. Now it's the 2 of them. Now it's the 2 of them.
Who?
Hannah and
His
Yoeli.
wife.
They have a lovely marriage. They understand each other very well. They're very, very decent people, both of them.
They're lovely
And
people.
very, very close with our family.
Yeah. So
But the
You know what-
tachlis, but a Yid, I want him to be a Jew. I mean, he is a Jew.
of course he's a Jew.
but-
He sees himself as
He sees himself as a Jew. They both
as
see
a Jew.
themselves as Jews.
and
yes.
they
But
do
I'm
raise
talking
the
about a
children.
believing Jew.
A believing Jew.
Yes.
You know, Pearl, if you don't believe, you can't make it happen.
That is not so.
Really?
Belief is not something that you're born with. I believe.
It's
So
like,
ask me why I believe.
why do you believe?
Because I learned a lot.
I see. It's a matter of education, is what
It's a
you're
matter of
saying.
education. I learned a lot. And if you have to be able to believe this on your own. You have to. But if you're afraid to learn, which I find secular people is, don't confuse me with the facts. If you ever want
That's
to talk
it.
to secular people, they don't, they're very, very, very close-minded. They think we're close-minded,
It goes both ways.
but they're very close-minded. And it's like, don't tell me anything. Don't confuse me with the facts. I don't want to know about it. My son is the same way. He doesn't want to hear. Doesn't want to know. I told you about my interesting experience with this guy in the Uber. I shared an Uber once with a guy I thought was a yuppie,
Go on.
and he heard me talking to my children. It was that sad day where the Jersey City killings occurred, and he heard me talking to my children. So he asked
Can you say what the Jersey City killings were?
two Orthodox Jews and a Mexican helper in the store who was shot down in a grocery store
In Jersey City.
in Jersey City. So he heard me talking to my children about this, and he asked me. So I asked him, "Are you Jewish?" He said, "Yes." I didn't, you can't tell just by looking. I had this conversation, and I asked him, as we talk, I asked him, "Is your wife Jewish?" So he says, "Yes." I said, "Would you have married her if she wasn't Jewish?" And he said, "No." So I asked him why. I don't know. Doesn't know. So he says, "But I made a bris. I made a circumcision for my baby. But I regret it," he tells me. I said, "So why did you make the bris?" He says, "I don't know." So I tell him, "You look like an educated person. You got married to a woman that you wouldn't have married if she wasn't Jewish. You'd made a bris for your child, and you don't know why you did these things. Why did you do this? Educate yourself. Find out why you did this." He said, "Nah, you have to believe." I told him, "Don't believe. Don't believe. Don't believe, but educate yourself. Find out. You did these things for a reason, and you don't know why. Find out why you did these things." So my son doesn't want me to educate.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to find out.
No.
What happened with the process of him sort of with you? Okay, let me ask it this way: did you at any point in his coming out and you realizing he's not religious feel like, I can't handle this? I want him out of my house.
Chas v'sholem. It's my child.
But you're a human being.
No.
You're suffering. You're fasting.
That's not about me, darling. It's not about me. It's not about my suffering. I'm Jewish.
Which
I'm
means
suffering. I'm suffering for him. I'm not suffering for me. I told everybody my son is OTD. I didn't hide it. There was no shame in it. He used to come home. All the neighbors were outside. I never covered it up. Never hid it. I never said, I have a child that's OTD. No.
How did people react when like you would say, would people even have the vocabulary to talk to you about it?
Yes. They asked me, and I would tell them he's going to school. He used to bring his girlfriend here before they were married. We accepted them. The entire family was so loving to him. You couldn't be otherwise because he's such a fine person. He's such a decent person. He's such a nice person, Yoeli.
Yeah.
And he wasn't out to hurt us. But I saw that he was hurt. Nobody leaves. No child picks up and goes OTD if they're happy where they are.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason.
So that's the
There has
journey he had
There has
to.
to be a tremendous unhappiness to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you say to the narrative from the outside that children, often when children leave closed communities, they're shunned?
There is a factor that people are worried about the children still in the house. And also, not everybody who leaves is so nice like Yoeli. Some of the kids who leave are out to hurt their parents. Yeah, they're out to show their parents.
To show that make a statement.
Make their parents really miserable and to get back at their parents. It wasn't in my case like this. So, but you know what? The prevailing idea is to be welcoming to these children. Don't throw them away. Don't throw them out. Be loving.
In your time, it wasn't that way?
I personally didn't know too many people whose children left. We are talking about 20 years ago, right?
With Yoeli?
Yeah.
I'm talking about when you were a young woman.
You never heard of such a thing?
No? People weren't leaving?
No.
Why not?
If they left quietly. They went out of the... Personally, I don't know anybody. They would just leave and never come back.
Why do you think it's become more prevalent or more obvious? Do you think
It's more prevalent.
you think it's more prevalent?
Yes.
Why do you think it's more prevalent?
I have my theories. I'm a little reluctant to talk about it because it's not going to make me popular.
You can try. We can edit it out.
My theory is that we take our Hasidus and our Yiddishkeit so for granted that we don't it becomes like by rote. You know, there's too much
By rote and not enough meaning.
there's not enough excitement. There's not enough joyfulness. There's not enough, like, basically, yes.
Yeah.
We don't do that enough with our children.
I think it's happening more. That's my observation. More than in my childhood, I'm seeing more
What?
attempt at joyfulness. And then you know,
It's happening more?
yeah, attempts at joyfulness.
Yes, because I think I'm not the only chucham around here, you know? And other people have caught on. I mean, educators have probably caught on,
Uh-huh.
you know?
But
Because
then you'll have
Moshel, when I was growing up, my parents, the prevailing attitude in the house was, it's so good to be a Jew. There was an excitement. There was a love for
Yeah.
Yiddishkeit. My father especially put that into us. There was everything about Yiddishkeit was exciting, and there was a lot of happiness about it. I still have it. You know what I mean? I still have this joyfulness about. I'm in love with Yiddishkeit. And really, Torah people are really in love with the Torah. We have a loving relationship with Hashem and the Torah. We are in love with it. Somewhere along the way, we didn't give this over to the next generation properly. Because if anybody would have this attitude, they wouldn't leave. Wild horses couldn't drag me out of this. No matter what temptation, you know what I mean? Why? Because I'm happy. I'm fulfilled in this milieu, in this Torah life.
What would you say first and foremost fulfills you?
The knowledge that I have a place in this world, I know where I came from, I know what I'm doing here, I know what my purpose in life is, and I know where I'm going.
Your purpose in life is?
To be what I am. This is Hashem is guiding my purpose in life, and whatever I am doing is the will of Hashem. And this is my purpose. You know, so when you know, there isn't this confusion, there isn't this choices that contemporary people think, if only they would try hard enough, they would be rich. If only they would try hard enough, they would succeed.
Yeah, there's an issue where everything is supposed to be possible. You can be anything. You should try to be anything.
You could try, but if you don't succeed, understand that this is what is meant for you.
There's an element of acceptance to your personal...
Yes, very much so. Very much so. And acceptance and also a satisfaction. It's not only acceptance. Acceptance comes with satisfaction. I accept and I'm satisfied that this is what Hashem wants for me. And this is where He wants me to be. This is what He wants me to have.
You don't have extremely glamorous, like you don't need to have extremely glamorous celebrations and.
Let's say I do, and sometimes I get it, and sometimes I don't.
There's an element of enoughness with you. I think that's the key to your.
But this is Hasumayach b'chelkoi. That's what does it say in the Mishnah? Who is rich?
Rich. He who is happy with his lot.
Happy with his lot. This is so you know the Torah gives us every single step of the way a way to live. It really, the Torah was given to the Yidden, yes, but it's also a way for the whole world to live. They don't have all the mitzvahs that a Jew has, but also a way of life that's for everybody. Now, when we were forged as a nation by by Har Sinai, by divine revelation in the world. Hashem didn't just say you're a nation and go out there with the Torah and figure it. And no, he gave us a manual, an owner's manual. When he created us as a nation, yes? When he manufactured us as a nation, he gave us an owner's manual.
Which is the Torah.
Which is the Torah. Now, which person, let's say, who owns a car and gets an owner's manual and defies what the manual says? Oh, I'm not going to have an engine checkup when the manual says. I'm not going to have an oil change when the manual says. That person is an idiot. You have a manual for a reason, for a purpose, so that your car can work well. So Hashem made us into a nation, gave us an owner's manual, and we are so happy with this owner's manual because now we know what to do. We're not left to our own devices to try to figure this out. And the Torah was given over 3,000 years ago to several million people. This is the only nation in the entire universe who says that Hashem spoke to us in front of 15 million people approximately, okay? There were different versions of the amount, but there were millions, okay? And then we spent 40 years in the desert learning this, right?
Right.
40 years alone, only this nation with Moses teaching us the Torah. All of these people transmitted this to their children, saying, I was there and I heard Hashem speak. Now, we are over 3,000 years away from that. But that transmission has been so perfect to this generation and so potent that in our travels, in our long history, whole communities of Jews would give up their life rather than kissing the crucifix and going home. People died al Kiddush Hashem with their wives and children for the sake of Hashem. Why? Because this wasn't a fairy tale that we got the Torah at Har Sinai.
At Mount Sinai.
Right? This was a true transmission that really we have in our DNA. And you can't deny it because the transmission, we have all the steps from that transmission. And the people who transmitted the Torah to this day. So it is so powerful and so potent that anybody that decides they want to throw this away.
What? You can't understand it.
It's not that I can't understand it. I have to understand it because I see it. Not only by my children, but by so many secular Jews. But you don't know what you're doing.
You think?
You don't know what you're doing. Educate yourself. Find out when you throw something away, find out what are you throwing away. You know what it means to throw away Shabbos?
Yeah, I hear you. Shabbos is very beautiful.
Shabbos, I get emotional when I think about Shabbos. Shabbos is a gift. Hashem gave it to us as a gift. You know, when you tzindlech, when you bless the candles, the entire atmosphere changes. It's palpable.
Yeah.
The entire atmosphere, the same house, the same furniture, the same furnishings, I see everything looks Shabbosdig now. How can you give up something like that?
I mean, Shabbos is very beautiful, but I think there are also times Shabbos is boring and Shabbos is grueling.
It's not, how is Shabbos grueling?
I don't know, sometimes it's just, you don't want to do Shabbos. You don't, I don't know, you don't, it is a lot of work and you have to, it's not always beautiful.
Do you understand what a gift Shabbos is?
I have to educate myself.
Shabbos is a tremendous, besides the spiritual aspect of Shabbos, the physical aspect of Shabbos, when you turn everybody and everything off and you rejuvenate physically, let's talk about physicality, okay? Not spirituality, but physicality. You eat the most delicious foods. You spend time with family. You spend time with friends. You spend time reading, let's say, you enjoy reading, without any distractions, and you're doing the will of Hashem every single minute. It's beyond explanation.
You always felt this way about Shabbos?
No.
No.
No, as a child I was bored many times.
Yeah. So when did you...
Sometimes Shabbos was very long.
Yeah.
But as I matured, I mean, you don't expect a child to grow up with what I'm telling you now. Okay, comes from maturity. And as I grew into Yiddishkeit and as I learned, I did a lot of learning on my own, not the Talmud that you asked me about.
Yeah, not allowed to. Women are not allowed to study the Talmud itself. But you mean you
Yeah, there's a lot of
things you can learn
yes.
Otherwise.
Tremendous amount of learning. So and as my age wisened me up, right?
Why I see.
Yeah, so then you get to see what the hokey pokey is all about.
I see. And it's a sweet hokey pokey, huh?
The best.
When I first approached Pearl, I had been working in the Hasidic community on the sort of down low for 9 years. I definitely wasn't very trusted in the community, and I had very, very little success in reaching an audience with my work. When I approached people in the community to ask them for help with creating content, people were very reluctant, they were very afraid, they were very nervous about being recorded, especially with someone who left. But when I contacted Pearl, her approach was, what can I do to help you? And the video that we first filmed, which was a tour of her home, was the first time that something I put out got a lovely reaction and so much wonderful engagement. And so I had to ask Pearl what prompted her to be so very kind to me, even when she had no idea that what she would do for me would go so far.
From when I contacted you, I was looking for someone to show me their house. You were so good to me. You immediately said, Frida, I want to help you, right?
Yes.
You did. I didn't even have to, you were really doing it for me.
Yes.
How come you were so good to me?
First of all, I have a soft spot for OTD people, right? And then I love to help people. I bemoan the fact that I'm not in a position to help people as much as I would like to. And why shouldn't I help you?
Until I had that interview with you, I would put out a video, would get 300 views in a month. I was absolutely floored. It was such a positive experience.
The other thing is that I love to speak to OTD people. I would love to make them understand that they should get their own education.
Yeah.
You don't know what a treasure we have.
Through you, I have learned so much. And one of the things that I got to see is an incredibly rich life.
Yes.
I'm always looking for ways that women build beautiful lives in unconventional. I'm not
the feminist in you.
The feminist in me. I'm not impressed with women who achieve career success. That climbing the same competitive ladder doesn't impress me. My feminism is women who have dynamic lives in unexpected ways. It's been educational.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I had such a nice time talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the cheesecake. We're gonna have more. Yeah.
At least you had cheesecake and not like last time, no kigel.
I had kigel. I'm still salivating over that kigel.
Well, that concludes my Hanukkah time visit to Hasidic Williamsburg. I want to again thank Pearl so much for inviting me into her home. And I want to thank all of you for your engagement and your encouragement. This project takes an enormous amount of time, effort, energy, and your support goes such a long way in helping me continue to do this. So please keep sharing your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, spread the word, and so on. Thank you, and bye-bye.